and also to congratulate the Deputy Speaker, Mr. Lennox Schumann, Honorable Member. I'd also like to extend good wishes and congratulations to all the members of Parliament who are here today to debate a budget that offers much to all of Guyana. When we are here in Parliament, it is serious business. When we are here in Parliament, our voices do not only reverberate in this chamber. Rather, it goes to everyone who is listening out there. They're listening. And when you trivialize major occurrences in their lives, when you dismiss the harrowing period of 5 months when people had to cope with the pandemic, its repercussions, to cope with the economic hardship because of mismanagement and incompetence, to say to people that you did it, you fixed it, and you addressed their concern is nothing short of ludicrous. I stayed away from saying reprehensible, felt that close. Mr. Speaker, the last honorable member said the budget is filled with numbers. I know that mathematics is not the strong point of those members. I know you don't like numbers, but a budget must have numbers. What else would it be if not filled with numbers? The point of it, Mr. Speaker, there are good numbers, and these numbers have been allocated to various critical and key areas of this country. I would like to, at this point, say thank you to the staff of all of the ministries that worked assiduously and dedicatedly, and especially to my colleague, Minister Bishop Edgehill, and all those who worked to give us a budget in record time. A budget is an important thing because it guides the trajectory of what we want to achieve. It details to all of the country what vision the government has. And I stand here and I say very, very humbly, but very sincerely, there is vision. People are impatient. People have high expectations of this government. In fact, I am impatient. I understand their impatience because what they would like to see is a reversal of misfortune that dogged them for 5 long years, and to see the return to this country of all the prosperous opportunities that all of Guyanese enjoy. When we stand here as parliamentarians or we take our seats, it is a privilege. It is not an entitlement. And to stand and to deliver, one must be honest enough to tell the fact as it is, to offer the truth. This is important to every parliamentarian sitting here. And if we fail to honor the oath that we have taken in this early time in Parliament, then I shudder to think what the population can expect. Mr. Speaker, today we are right in the middle of the debate. And I think, like much of the country, there is an expectation out there that there must be maturity, there must be political will, and there must be a desire to support any initiative that will benefit people. And there are many initiatives in this budget of 2020. Why is it an emergency budget? Because you contributed to it being an emergency budget. It is simple. Mr. Speaker, I listened very intently to all of the presentations, and I was looking for constructive recommendations to any member of this side so that we can act on them and we can say, let's discuss it further. That is what a budget debate is about. Mr. Speaker, I want to say here too, I have an open door policy to all of Guyana, and my doors are open to any one of you. This is the Guyana that we should build, not being counterproductive and counter to development and initiatives that will benefit all of this country. Mr. Speaker, I want to say today to all those of you who are here, if we move away from what people of this country expect of us, then we would have failed them before we even started. To bring acrimony, rancor, divisiveness, and irresponsible statements to this hallowed house, this august assembly, does you a disservice. It does your constituency a disservice. The question you should be asking yourself, what can I bring to the table to move my constituency upwards, to elevate their lives? That is what I would have loved to hear today, and every day. I didn't hear it. Mr. Speaker, COVID-19 is real, and much was said about how we deal with COVID-19. The point is, and not only to do with COVID-19, many things have been raised. What we should be doing, how it should be done, what we didn't do. We just got here. It's not even 100 days. You were there for 5 years. So all of these things you have clearly told us today what your inadequacies are. You have showed us where the gaps are. You've told us clearly that you failed the people of Ghana. Thank you. They don't need reminding. They live it every day, you know. You know what bothered me when I got to the ministry? Like many of my colleagues on this side of the house. We walked this country. We packed hampers. We shared hampers, thousands of them. And we understood that people in this country were suffering. People in this country did not have food. People of this country could not feed their children. And when I got into the Ministry of Human Services and Social Security, it was emphasized to me more, because women come and all they're asking for is food for their children. And you know what they say? I don't usually beg, but I'm forced to beg now. And every time they say that, I say to myself, never again will we allow people to threaten the fabric of democracy, rig an elections or attempt to rig it, and to remove the dignity of our women folk and our families, where plainly, there has been an exposure of the poverty that people are experiencing. Mr. Speaker, for anyone to deny this reality, they are not being true to themselves. And when we're not true to ourselves, we've lost the essence of what we are here for. Service to humanity, that's a privilege. And this Ministry of Human Services is geared towards offering service to the most vulnerable in our country. The budget, as it stands now, allots various sums to major programs within the ministry, including child care, social service, which attracts the largest percentage of the budget, and also administrative costs. What did I go in there and what did I find? And every minister has stood up, and rightly so, to tell you what they inherited. It's important that people understand what we went in to meet and where we are starting from, and what we have to extrapolate ourselves from. Nothing but an abyss, a mess, whatever you want to call it. I have to take my hat off, though I'm not wearing one, but figuratively, to the staff of the Ministry of Human Services and Social Security, because they did much with very little. The child care program and many of the other programs were virtually starved of technical resources. People were brought into the ministry, yes, but at the lower levels. And the technical expertise that was desperately needed, child care psychologists, social workers with specialist degrees to deal with PTSD, and for my colleague on the other side, post-traumatic stress disorder. Those are things that are badly needed in this ministry. What is planned is reorganization and restructuring of the Ministry of Human Services and Social Security. And I'm not doing it on my own whims and fancy. Let me tell you here, honorable members, that studies were done in conjunction with the IDB, and those studies sat on a shelf. And do you know what those studies dealt with? Social protection and expenditure, social safety net reforms, poverty assessment, and also strengthening of institutions and organizations. Nothing was acted upon. That's going to change. That's going to change. We will act on them. In fact, I've already met, and things will start happening. I met with the heads of my programs within the Ministry of Human Services, and they had a number of programs that were just waiting for approval to be brought to the people of this country to alleviate their suffering and hardship and to tackle critical, serious issues like domestic violence, gender-based violence. And I want to say that very soon, before the end of this quarter, a survivors advocacy program will be rolled out in regions across this country, where women will have the support that they need from the moment of reporting to the conclusion of their cases. People will be trained to offer that technical support. And this is dealing directly with a serious issue in our country that has escalated because of COVID-19. In addition to that, partnering with the United Nations and the European Union on the groundbreaking Spotlight initiative will bring over $4.5 million to this country to tackle violence. Violence that affects women and girls. And imagine that was waiting and not dealt with because persons were too busy holding this country to ransom. This will be launched by next month. That is how urgent we need this in this country. So you talk about emergency, and I've just said two things. In addition to that, there will be $150 million dedicated to frontline workers. Within the ministry, $22 million are designated for essential workers to provide childcare services. And I feel this is necessary. We have a lot of our working force, women and men, primarily women, who have to leave their children unattended. And this will be offered to both public and private sector workers, children below the age of 7. And I'm hearing that this budget has nothing. Mr. Speaker, I go further to say that there are many other groundbreaking programs that target the most vulnerable, the disadvantaged, the underprivileged, people who are differently able. And you know, even though we say human services and social security, this ministry has become aligned with women. And would you believe that nothing was done at the Guyana Women's Leadership Institute? Nothing. This year, before the end of the last quarter, 2 programs will be rolled out that will benefit at least 200 women. And what are we doing for women? While we are dealing with their immediate needs of providing food for them and their children, feminine and dignity care packages, we are also ensuring that these women have an opportunity to be part of the working world and to be financially independent. This is looking at women holistically. This is taking people from off of the breadline. This is ensuring that if they need to get out of a potentially violent home, then they have the opportunity to do that. You know, Mr. Speaker, this is a house where heckling is allowed. But when serious issues like this, that deal with the vulnerabilities, I am shocked that members will treat it in such a cavalier manner. No, Mr. Speaker, members of this House, we need to ensure that these initiatives are supported. Why am I saying that? Because it's not going to only benefit this side of the House or that side of the House. These are going to benefit all of Guyana. What a difference from what was in the ministry when a program called SLED, and everybody knows about it, was moved from the Ministry of Local Government to the Ministry of Human Services. And with a signature, people got large sums of money without even having to apply. I leave it right there. I believe in systems-based governance, and the ministry will move in that direction. Not ministerial discretion and ad hocism. No. Systems where people can have equal access and opportunity. Systems where the red tape that frustrates people will be removed. Systems where people have direct access to me by the provision of a virtual desk, so they can interface with me and all the key staff members virtually, as well as come and let us know what is going on. I appeal to the members of the public to ensure that you work in tandem with the ministry and all the officers so that we know what's happening on the ground and we can deal with it if there are issues with alacrity and effectively. Mr. Speaker, our child care program continues to offer much needed services to the children of this country. And the head of that program, Ms. Green, has spent many of her years at the helm of that. And she has offered guidance to this area. And I was happy to go to the Children and Family Center and engage with the children. But more than that, there's building on all of this. Expansion of our child advocacy centers. So there's a one-stop shop where children can have their needs dealt with in extremely difficult circumstances. This is because of partnership with NGOs that offer us the opportunity to spread our wings and to get into regions. Now, this ministry is extensive, and in addition to child care advocacy programs, we'll be looking at the Month of Children, where we will be doing a virtual children's rally so that we can continue to engage with our children even amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. Training did not happen in any major way in the last year. Why is that so? We have virtual platforms. Why wasn't this used? Those are things that will happen in this last quarter of the year. So there will be training of the staff, retraining if necessary. Scholarships, I will be able to ask my colleague, Minister Sonia Persaud, that scholarship be provided for people so we can fill all those technical vacancies that exist there, because it's needed. In addition to that, I want to say too, that there are institutions that have been badly neglected. I was appalled. Going to the night shelter and seeing the conditions that the indigent and homeless have to deal with. There will be new programs to refurnish, renovate, and also give that place a lift so that people, when they come there, will be treated like people. We don't remove the dignity of people because they can't afford or they're impoverished. I believe that dignity is something that should never be stripped from anyone. And as I stand here, I'm happy to say that there has been an expression of interest from a very, very exceptional service-oriented group to partner with this ministry, and together we will change the night shelter. It is looking at the indigent, the poor and the homeless, and giving them another chance at life, not just packing them up in shelters, training them, getting them back into the working world, looking at the differently abled. I met with the Deaf Association. They said no one bothered with them for a lot of years. I am bothering with them now. And these are the things that we need to accept that we did not do, you did not do. It's going to be done. So I say to you, instead of being discouraging in your remarks, instead of treating this budget as it has nothing to offer, walk with us and let us make people's lives better. I've always believed when people take the low road, take the higher road. And this is what I'm asking that we do. No one, no community should be oppressed and suppressed. And this is where this government will work tirelessly to ensure that all people have equal opportunity and access to everything within our power to provide. I haven't fired a soul. Come and check. Mr. Speaker, I believe in honesty, integrity, and transparency. And once people demonstrate those qualities and have excellent work ethic, why should I fire them? That's not a law. They should not have a problem with those things. And they must turn up to work. You can't want to be paid and not work. Mr. Speaker, I've heard, you know why I'm going to raise this point? I've heard a lot about discrimination today. And I looked at the Deputy Speaker. And you know what? He is part of the opposition. He gets no support from the opposition. So sometimes charity needs to happen from within before you talk about discrimination. Mr. Speaker, it is necessary for us to demonstrate to this country that they matter, the people matter, all of the people in this country matter. The shenanigans that people had to endure in the last 5 months, they should never have to endure that in this country, in my beloved Guyana. Never. Never. The pain, the hurt, the hardship. You know where I see them? At the Ministry of Human Services and Social Security. People have suffered psychologically. Mr. Speaker, this country has become fragmented because of what went on there. Instead of spewing spurious and irresponsible statements, be responsible parliamentarians. Be responsible and represent your constituency fairly and objectively. Mr. Speaker, I do not want to see the Ministry of Human Services and Social Security create a dependency syndrome where people are only waiting for handouts. All the good books advocate that we should teach, we should train, and we should empower people so that they can help themselves. It does not matter which book you read. Now, pension and the delivery of pension is important. We are in a peculiar situation where we are reminded to socially distance. We are reminded to take all the preventative measures. And we are going one step further. That would lead to many other phases. And we are delivering to 3,400 pensioners their pensions directly to their homes. Never been done. We are encouraging pensioners to utilize the bank. We are coming up with alternative venues so that pensioners don't have to trek far distances to get their pension. And in the hinterland, we will be partnering with the Ministry of Local Government to have mobile units take pensions closer to where people live. If this is not progress and if this is not vision, then tell me. Mr. Speaker, we're looking too at young people. Young people are pivotal. Talk is cheap and will always be cheap if not followed with targeted action. And the targeted action will be looking at those vulnerable young people, many of them who display disruptive behaviors. And we are going to be expanding our family enhancement programs in the various regions that is accessible to anyone who would like the service, where our trained counselors will work with disruptive youth and their family to ensure that they are engaged, they are reformed for the want of a better word, and they are able to make a positive contribution to country. Mr. Speaker, we also would like to equip them with basic skills so that they can find employment. And this will be the move forward dealing with young people through the Ministry of Human Services and Social Security. Mr. Speaker, and I want to say, we're not providing for 2 people and 5 people. Hundreds of people across this country will benefit. important legislation like the Sexual Offences Act and also other legislations that deal with domestic violence, our gender policy. These things have been ignored. Like many other things, they sat on a shelf. And as soon as I got in there, these were brought to my attention. We will be working to have those in this House so that we can have comprehensive review of existing legislation and also new legislation to target peculiar issues that fall within the ambit and the purview of the Ministry of Human Services and Social Security. Mr. Speaker, to really understand what people need, there will be a comprehensive review which is called a Poverty Assessment Map. A database system will be launched by this ministry to capture those who will be beneficiaries of what we can give to them in their time of need. In addition, legal aid falls under this ministry, and I know the Attorney General has spoken to me a lot on this. We will be partnering on this initiative to expand it, to improve it, and to ensure that people have access to legal services. Mr. Speaker, as you can see, the ministry is very expansive and deals with many, many, many serious issues, deals with vulnerable populations, and deals with critical issues that speak to the welfare and well-being of the people of Guyana. I have no doubt, if together we confront the good, the bad, the unacceptable, and we work, no for me, I'm not talking about the ugly to the good. The good, the bad, the unacceptable, then we can offer fairly to this country what it is the people really want. Mr. Speaker, I urge the members of the opposition to stop saying you and we and them and us. No. This Guyana, we like to say one people. Let's be one people. We like to say one nation. Let's be one nation. You are here because you have said you want to help people. Well, then help them. The avenues are open to you from all of the members of this House. Every one of them. So do not go out and be irresponsible and tell people that this offer was not given to you. It was, and it will be repeated. You will be reminded. You know, I will respond to that. Talk and action, we have hit the ground running. And in about a month, the number of things that we've managed to achieve, please, I don't want to make a comparison. I think the people will do it for me. Mr. Speaker, I haven't even mentioned the removal of VAT. You know, it's interesting. We say that nothing is there for the budget. Well, then, you know what? Refuse. Refuse the $25,000 when it's offered. Refuse the VAT and pay the VAT on your bills. Refuse it then. Why would you want to penalize the elderly? Why? When they can benefit now from free water. Mr. Speaker, if my good friends and colleagues on the other side continue to be defensive of perfidies and everything that they have had people endure in this country, you cannot blame people if they never trust you. Mr. Speaker, trust is a very important thing. Respect is not an important component. You can't just buy those off the shelf. They have to be earned. And I don't know what you've earned in that level. Mr. Speaker, this movement forward from 2020 to 2021, from this budget to a new budget, should be seen as a journey of healing, a journey that we take together. Stop dividing people. I'm a frank person, and I call a spade a spade. Stop dividing people. Our country's psyche has been damaged. The coffers have been next to empty, and in a limited fiscal space, a budget like this is being presented. I spoke extensively about how the vulnerable population and the poor can benefit. And I hear the cry, why the private sector? Because they will provide jobs. Come on. That's obvious, but sometimes you have to state the obvious. So, Mr. Speaker, when we speak in this House, be careful what you tell people. The mother who can't feed her child knows what she feels. The father who is off of a job and on the breadline knows what it's like not to take home money for his family. Mr. Speaker, I visited those families and it broke my heart. And like you too, I will call for justice, because no young person should lose their life in such a gruesome way. I was not afraid to go because I understood the angst and the anguish of those parents and grandparents. It's not easy to lose your children. And to lose them in that way, no one should have to bear that. So to say that justice is something that will be denied, I think we need to let that proceed to the point where justice is served.
Honourable
Mr.
Member,
Speaker?
we will need to proceed for an extension.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll be happy to proceed for that extension.
Someone will have to move it for you.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to ask that the honourable member be given another 5 minutes to be able to continue his presentation.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable Minister, you may continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I've said much, and much more can be said about the budget and how it will benefit women, men, children, and even those from the migrant population. In fact, migrant assistance of 3,800,000 will benefit 300 migrant families in collaboration with UNICEF. Mr. Speaker, what I want to give a commitment to this House and to the people of the country on is that every effort will be made to assuage any suffering, to alleviate any hardship, to address the concerns of their welfare. Because I believe that I've been fortunate, blessed, privileged to be placed here. So now I can be an ear, a voice, and a support to the voiceless and the underprivileged. And at least I am not unafraid to say, whether I say it here or on television, my message is the same, Honourable Member. Mr. Speaker, it is interesting to listen to what transpired, but I want to tell this country, this nation, and all the members that a new wave of transparency, accountability, progress, care, concern, prosperity is about to hit the country of Guyana. Don't be left behind. Get on the wagon. Join the procession. Join this movement as we take Guyana forward with our plan for prosperity. I commend this budget to you, members of this honorable House, and I say to you, each time we meet here, let us endeavor to be part of a solution and not make a problem magnified because of our inability to be productive, but rather our predilection to be counter. Mr. Speaker, if we have proclivities and fetishes, let them be positive ones, members of the opposition, so that they can engender positivity, they can engender hope, and they can move the people from the state of despair and hopelessness and from the demoralized state that they were in towards understanding that now things are going to change. The country will be transformed, and the PPP civic government is here. We are a team, and we will work for all the people of Guyana. I thank you so much, Mr. Speaker.